Hi, everyone. This is Krista Moore, and welcome to the Krista Moore Show. This show is brought to you as a new way to learn as I interview industry experts and thought leaders on subjects that are important to your health and your wellness and your business success. Now, something that I am really excited about is my guest today, and I'm just hoping that those that are watching stay with us and really hear the message that Helen has to share. So I'd like to introduce to you my friend, colleague, and message and voice coach, but so much more, Helen Moses. Hi, Helen.
Hey, Krista. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I had you on my show way back when we first started the show, and I remember you were physically here in the studio with me. We had fun that day.
Yes, we did.
I've been watching you socially and staying in touch with you and what you're doing in your business. And I just have to tell you that I'm really proud and I'm very impressed with how you have kind of stepped out of your comfort zone in terms of communications. And I want you to kind of share that story a little bit and give a little bit of background for our audience on you.
Sure. Well, I'm a voice coach, yet it wasn't until the last journey of the last 4 years that I really truly found my voice. Mm-hmm. And that was based on me figuring out that I'm valuable, that I didn't need anybody else to confirm that for me. And what has happened for me, this kind of new birth, new awakening, has happened recently in the Black Lives Matter issues that are becoming front of people's minds in our country and globally too. And of course, it was the George Floyd killing that that finally reached me. And I, this is a cliche, but I woke up. I woke up to the fact that racism exists and that I, who thought I couldn't possibly be a racist, can't help but to have thoughts that other people could consider racist, or a better way I like to put it is racially problematic.
Yes.
Yes, we all have them because they're ingrained in our society. Our society was built on a structure that thrives on us versus them. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I have been contributing to this. I have been part of this problem because in my ability to live my life and not have to pay attention, I wasn't doing anything to help and bring change and bring awareness. So what I've done, you mentioned being uncomfortable,
yes,
is that I've started to speak up about my awakening and speak up about what I am doing to help end systemic racism. Obviously, I can't and no one can do this by him or herself.
That's
so
right.
We have to connect with everybody else. And so I've been doing postings about what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, about things I've gleaned from conversations with people of color, fellow white people. I'm getting more comfortable talking about race.
This subject is really very timely. There's no doubt about it. But I love having it with you because as a voice coach, you're a voice and messaging coach, and you're helping people with their communication style and to be confident to speak up what's on their mind. And being a business coach around that as well as a life coach for many people. But this is a shift for sure. I mean, this is where, when you say it's an awakening, I feel it when you talk about it. And I know that one of the first things you did is you started learning. You started studying. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I realized I didn't know much of anything. There was history that happened right in my lifetime that I was clueless about. There were laws that were made and built that I just didn't know, I didn't understand. So I knew I had a lot of catching up to do. And I have read books. I've read The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. I've read White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. I'm currently reading The Fire This Time by James Baldwin, or The Fire Next Time, James Baldwin.
Mhm.
And I'm also interested in reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. I actually have it because I feel like that will help me understand so much more about the culture in the 60s, 50s, and 60s that I just totally missed out and school didn't teach me.
Well, I was just going to ask that. First off, I'd love for whatever recommendations you think would be great for creating more awareness and education around it. And there is a Black history that I really don't know. I mean, I know a few key figures, that helped with just the transition that took place in the 60s and the 70s to kind of get to where we are today. But I really don't know much before that because I don't believe it was taught in school.
Not in my school.
Where did you grow up?
Well, I kind of grew up in the first half of my elementary and middle school education, and then the second half through high school.
Mhm.
So both in North Carolina. But the first part, from first through seventh grade, I lived in Hertford County, which is northeast of I-95, right on the Virginia border. Little town called Como that most people have not heard of. And it's very rural. It's very low income. Not a lot of people have a lot of economic chances or educational chances. And a lot of people are still stuck there, although some people do thrive there. But I lived there, and then we moved to Chapel Hill the summer between my 7th and 8th grade year, which was basically the opposite kind of
Big
experience.
change.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Chapel Hill to me was a huge city. And it still wouldn't compare to Charlotte or even Raleigh, but at the time it opened my eyes to opportunities that were in the world that just weren't available in rural Hertford County, North Carolina. And I will say, since we're on the subject, that Hertford County is predominantly African American in population. And when I went from that demographic to Chapel Hill, where it was predominantly white and predominantly extremely well educated,
Mhm.
it was just a totally different experience. So when I say I grew up, I would say all of North Carolina is kind of the rural and the city.
But when you think about, where we come from or how we grow up or how we're raised, and we're on this subject of racism and injustice, it's almost like our frame of reference, maybe how we were raised or where we were raised, the interaction that we might have had with others that would be considered minorities. My background is growing up in a small coal mining town in Pennsylvania, and there was discrimination, significant. But it was based on your ethnicity. So there were, the Italians were here, the Slovaks were here, the Hungarians were here, the Polish were here. And, I couldn't go out with someone that was Italian because he was a Dago, this was just, that's all I knew. That's how we were raised. I mean, it's a sad, sad way to even have this conversation.
Yeah.
And I did not really meet my first Black person till high school. One guy in my high school was Black, and I say Black instead of African American because
I say both. I say both because depending on who you speak to, one prefers African American, one prefers Black.
Okay.
So now I throw it all in there. I say Black, I say brown, I say people of color, I say African Americans. I can't please everybody, but I want to be as inclusive as possible.
And maybe it's just asking, right? Which do you prefer?
Yeah, and I've asked individuals that for sure.
Yeah, but I remember when I went to college, and that was when I went to college in northern Pennsylvania, and it was more integrated, but still predominantly white. But I think it's interesting because you were saying that you didn't think that you had racism or injustice but then through learning and reading, you're saying, wait a minute, I do have a blind spot perhaps. And that made a difference in how you wanted to share this message with the world. So you're kind of on a mission.
Yeah.
What is your mission?
My mission is to do my part to help end systemic racism and to get us to the point that humans are humans and everyone has the dignity and the respect that they deserve. That's all.
And as a voice coach,
Yep.
that focuses on the message, tell me how you're getting that message out.
I'm starting with myself, as we talked about. I'm educating myself. I am learning what I missed and listening, doing a lot of listening to other people's stories. I am involved in a weekly interracial, it is interracial, but interfaith racial healing conversation.
Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that.
Well, it's actually was started or helped to be started by a friend of mine from middle school back in Como, in Hereford County, and he now lives in Florida. But he's helped to get it together, and he just invited me to it. He saw my very first post on Facebook when I woke up and invited me to join it. And also from that first call, somebody else on his call introduced me to a course that I'm now taking called Empathy is Your Superpower. And it's put on by the Dialogue Company and taught by Dr. David Kampt, who is nationally known for his work on racism, particularly helping white people become better allies. And that is a wonderful experience. It's teaching me so much about how to connect, particularly with people who have grown up like me, can't imagine that they have racially problematic, thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right aligned with you, Helen, in that. In my mind, I think, well, I'm not racist. There's no way. But then when I think about, I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know what I say or what I do, how that could be interpreted or perceived.
Yeah.
So you teach a great deal around speaking up with heart, and that's kind of your tagline. It's part of your coaching programs that you have, and different workshops, and your speaking that you do. You do a lot of motivational speaking. So I'd like for you just to talk about what that means to you. Speak up with heart.
Well, let me give credit to Nora Richardson for coming up with it. She is someone who's worked with me on my branding and understanding not just the brand visually, but like me, the brand, Helen, the brand. And so after listening to all my stories, she said, isn't this what you have, what everything you do is all about? Isn't this it? And it really is. Speak up with heart. It is. It's exactly it. So then it turned into an acronym.
I wanted to walk through that acronym because one of the things that I'm hoping that the audience takes today during this show is some real takeaways that they can start thinking about and applying to their own life and their own world. And I think if we can take this Speak Up with Heart acronym and kind of talk about what that is and actually apply it to this awakening and this new mission of yours, it could be very, very helpful. So I encourage that kind of conversation if that's okay with you.
That's great.
All right, perfect. So I understand the heart is the word where the acronym comes from, and go with H. What is H?
Okay, H is honesty. We have to tell what we know to be the truth. I have to say that I didn't know all that there was to know, and I was acting as if things weren't the way they are. Honesty involves vulnerability, and that's hard. That's very hard. And I recognize too, let me point out, some people, particularly oppressed people, are not in a position necessarily to be able to speak completely honestly because they risk losing their job or their status or some other huge risk. So I'm aware of that. And I hope to change that so that more people can truly be vulnerable and honest. But that's what the H stands for.
So is it honest in terms of honest in how someone's feeling, or honest in how someone is feel like they're being received, or is it just a two-way conversation in honesty?
We control more about how we put it out there than how it can be received. I mean, I do coach people to try to not finagle in a bad way, but to manage what you do so that it does, you do get received the way you intend to, but that still is ultimately.
That's more alignment.
So it's more about just being honest with, okay, I don't know that, or I if I don't agree with something, being willing to say I don't agree with that, even though I might be in the minority.
Yeah, or even saying, here's my perspective on that. Based on my experiences,
Yes.
here's, how I see that. And I think that sometimes sharing in that way makes you vulnerable.
Yeah.
But we're being honest, we're being truthful in kind of where that comes from.
Absolutely.
And then E, I think, is empathy, right?
It is empathy. It is empathy, and it's critical. And that class that I'm taking, Empathy is Your Superpower, I truly believe it. There's such a lack of it in our country right now. They don't understand. They don't understand it, back and forth. And what I'm being challenged to do myself in these times, and what I challenge my clients and the people I speak to do, is to try, before we try to get our point across, to listen and do what we can to understand the other person's perspective.
Yeah.
This is actually Stephen Covey's 5th habit of highly effective people: seek first to understand and then to be understood. And I apply it wholeheartedly. A lot of that involves waiting. Don't try to change someone's mind right away. Try to get to know them first.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a reason why they think, why they have their opinions.
Yeah. I have to share with you, honestly.
Okay.
When I went to coaching certification, and I was having a hard time with some of the coaching practice conversations, because I was all about consulting, like trying to solve the problem or telling you what I think you should do, mm-hmm. and advise instead of really coaching. And something I learned is coaching is asking and listening and understanding, not telling. And then I felt like I struggled with the empathy piece. And it wasn't until someone taught me that when I'm looking to understand, it's understanding with your head and your heart and your gut. Mm. So instead of just going in and, thinking, just with your head, like finances or business or strategy, go ahead and start thinking with your heart. And that just intentionally trying to do that made a difference.
Yes, I can see why. For sure. So that's empathy.
Yep. And the next one is
alignment. A is for alignment. Aligned was my word and mantra for 2019. I talk about that a lot in my upcoming book, which I think we might get to shortly. Mm-hmm. But basically, I have learned that to be able to find my voice and speak up for what matters, I have to be aligned with 3 things. The first is my own value. I can't mm-hmm. question that, and I don't anymore. Each of us, a child of God, created in God's image, valuable just because of that, period. Mm-hmm. And then second is to be in alignment with my values, not just about my value, but yes. What I stand for, what matters to me, what causes I am feeling led to participate in. And then finally, it's my resources. In my journey to find my voice, I went through a lot of times where I spent resources that I didn't have. And I kept pretending that I had those resources available, but I really didn't. And then I crashed and burned, or I got into debt, or other things that were not so pleasant happened. Mm-hmm. So now I align from a place of what resources do I have to work with? And this comes into play in communication when you are negotiating, or when you are trying to influence or get someone to see a different perspective. For example, my mission here to help people see systemic racism for what it is and want to do something to change it.
When I hear the word alignment, it makes me feel like it could also be authentic. Like you're mm-hmm. aligning with who you truly are, or what your true values are.
Yes, all of that. Yes, you are. And it's, people go to chiropractors, or the car is in the shop to get the wheels aligned. Everything runs better and more smoothly. There's more power, there's more energy when mm-hmm. you're physically aligned. Mm-hmm. And this is physical alignment. It's alignment with your heart, and your
The
mind and
center.
your gut, your spiritual, and all of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what's the next one? R?
R is for resolve. And that's just that, okay, I'm going to do this. My voice matters. I am not going to guess if people want to hear from me or not. If something is important and I've got something bubbling up, I'm going to resolve to communicate it in a way that it will be received. See, that's the key. You want to resolve. It's not just, I'm going to say something and I'm going to, no matter what, if there's that question, if the tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, I think, yes, it does make a sound, but does it really matter? No, it doesn't matter if there's no one there to hear it. And if there's no one paying attention to what you have to say, then why are you bothering wasting your energy speaking?
Mm-hmm.
So the resolve is part of, I'm determined to speak in alignment and communicate my message and respect my audience at the same time.
Yeah. And that feels to me like intention or, commitment
Mm-hmm.
to the process,
Yes.
Yeah.
There's that too. Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. And T is?
T is for tone. How you say what you say matters a whole lot.
Yeah.
Whole lot.
I struggle with tone.
Yes.
Not so much. I mean, I'm not trying to be defensive, but I don't think it's my tone, but I'll hear someone's tone differently than they intend.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure why.
Well, it could be some assumptions.
Someone could hear the exact same thing and they're like, I didn't hear it that way.
Yeah.
So I'm taking, I don't know. What do you have to say about tone?
Well, again, we can only do so much to help our audience interpret our message the way we intend.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of things we can do. If we intend to connect with our audience, we don't want to yell at them. And if we care about them, we're going to talk in a different way. But if something is urgent and we need to communicate the urgency of it, then we need to change the tone so that it's very important that people understand this is urgent.
Mm-hmm.
I still care about you, but this is urgent, not this is urgent. Let's do it. It's different. The tone matters. And a lot of people have asked me, because I talk about how to match the tone of the person you're talking to. A lot of people have said, well, what about those people that are just irate and really mad and they're yelling up there? Do I match that? I'm like, no, not at that point. Mm-hmm. That's where they're up here going, I can't believe this is happening. And you stay down here. I know. I can't. It's just really frustrating. I know. I get it. I'm feeling the same way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. And then they come down and then we work our way to meet. The tone matters.
When you talk about speaking up with heart and this kind of process that you've developed, is that what your new book's about?
It's all in there in the new book. The new book is coming out September 22nd. It's called Voice Unleashed: Speaking Up with Faith and Courage. And in it, I share some of my own vulnerable stories. So yes, I am speaking up with heart throughout the book.
Yes.
But I write it to the reader who might have experienced something similar. My hope in writing this book and getting it out there is that more people will feel empowered and encouraged and believe in their own value, believe that what's in their heart matters and the world needs it.
And to get it out and to speak
get it out.
To speak it out with heart, with forethought and authenticity, empathy. Yeah.
And I talk about different aspects of my life. So I talk about being an entrepreneur. I talk about being a mother. I talk about dealing with clutter in my home and how that affected my voice. Just different ways that my voice was suppressed because of not being in a place of alignment and because of not speaking from the heart.
And you know what I'm feeling right now is, and I've gone through this too, where there's just these different transitions in life or shifts that take place. And I feel like I've been working my entire life to be who I'm supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
But it almost feels to me as though the timing of your book, the timing of your awakening that you refer to, and the need for others to hear your message is definitely aligned.
Yes,
Almost
I just
scary.
got chills. It's very scary. I'm a true believer in that. I do believe I feel I was called to write this book. I believe God wanted me to get this message out, and I believe the timing of it is exactly his timing. Because if it had been up to me, I had it planned to come out earlier, but things happened, life happened, COVID happened, Black Lives Matters happened, the election coming up happened, all of the timing of this all in the world, it just family issues. I don't think the timing can be better, and that's because it's not my timing. It's just what's meant to be.
Well, and who better to give that idea to, or that mission, but Helen, who is the voice and messaging coach. You're almost going to really, truly be walking your talk,
Yeah. People are watching. I already know that because they've sort of been watching my journey unfold over the past 4 years, where I've sort of come out and become more authentically Helen.
Who you are. Yeah.
Yeah. But, I see
Lisa.
Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. I love you. I love you. I know, Lisa. I love you, Lisa.
That's great.
I just do.
Yeah, we have lots of good comments coming in. I know Maha just was saying how much she appreciated the candor, and really this is teaching.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that makes me feel really good about this subject is I know the Helen before the awakening. And it's not that different, except your voice is going to now be heard, and I think that you've got the platform to get that message out.
Yeah, that's part of the alignment.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of it. By the way, my word and mantra for 2020, I picked ready.
And that was in January?
That was in January. And boy,
I think you're ready.
Has life shown me when I said I was ready? Okay, Helen, let's go.
Yeah, right. You said you were ready. There's no turning back now.
That's right. That's right.
That's great. Well, I appreciate everything that you're doing, and I'm excited for you. Now, your book, I think, got sent off to the editor recently, right?
To the copy editor this week. It's there, and I'm going to be sending it to a group of people to get endorsements, and I'm going to be setting up a way to let people know how to pre-order it. So stay tuned for that. You'll be able to find that out.
That sounds great. Well, I want to talk to you again once it's out and after I read it. It'd be fun.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I love it.
And I did want to share some contact information.
Okay.
So we're going to put a slide up here. And what is the best way to get a hold of you?
The easiest way is just to go to my website, and you can fill out a contact us form there, or you can send an email to helen@helenmoses.com, or you've got my phone number right there, which you can text or make an actual voice call with. Either way, it goes directly to me, and I would love to hear your voice.
Yeah. Something that has just come up over the past couple of days, we have some friends in, and we were talking about how often we hide ourselves behind text or email, and we don't really use our voice like one-on-one, where you pick up the phone and you actually call somebody.
Yeah.
And we have two examples of instances this past couple of days where we picked up the phone, talked to a human being, got to know them personally, and received absolutely fabulous customer service.
Wonderful.
And as I was preparing for the show today, that really the whole thing really resonated with me. And there was this connection between, in order to get your voice heard, you have to speak it. I mean, you've got, it's not, how things can get misinterpreted. Also, whenever you're speaking and you're being intentional about that, there's different types of accountability that come with that, because you said it. It came right out of here and I heard it, which is different than I interpreted your text in a certain way.
Yep, sure is. A voice. And there's a little tip for people. If you want to reach somebody and you can't seem to get through the the technology way, call them, leave them a voicemail, leave them a voice, pick up the phone, make a video recording or an audio recording and put that in your text.
Yeah.
It's a fun and nice way to connect. And I hope that people will do more of that.
That's great, which is why I love the show. It's live, there's video, we're having great conversation, and we're all learning from each other. So I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you so much for this time.
Right. Well, we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. I want to thank everyone for joining in today to hear the conversation with Helen and I, and stay tuned for her new book coming out at the end of September. And you can find the Krista Moore Show on YouTube. You can find it on Facebook Live, and any past recordings you can certainly find on YouTube as well. So I hope you'll join me most Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Until next week, have a wonderful, wonderful time. See ya.